What
Yeah,
part
we're
of
getting.
what part of town do you live in?
Um, I live by the highway, the 183.
That's where I used to live.
Oh yeah.
Are you off O'Connor, MacArthur?
Uh, Off of Pioneer and Estes.
Pioneer and Esther's. Oh, I lived over there. After I got out of high school, my dad moved into those subdivisions that were between Beltline and County Line Road. So you're Esther's. Esther's is by Northwest. That's Northwest Irving, isn't it?
Well, it runs all the way up to Northwest Irving, but it
That's
goes
right.
down to
It's
the
changed
west,
so much.
southwest side too.
Oh, it does. So are you on the Northwest or Southwest side?
Southwest.
Okay, you're Southwest. Okay. God, yeah. When I lived
Yeah,
there, it wasn't anything like it is now.
yeah. My parents always say is they were just trees for as far as you could see, and now, well, I live on the edge of Grand Prairie, where it's still sort of like that, but
That's where I was. I was at Carrier Parkway and County Line Road. I actually lived in Grand Prairie and went to Irving High School.
oh yeah, me too.
Yeah, that's what happened with
Same
me.
places.
So you can't make this stuff up. I mean, I don't think I've met anybody from. There was one girl I went to school with that she transitioned a couple of years ago, but she used to come around on the Soulogy shows. But I don't really see anybody else. But that's cool. I noticed that you were like we graduated from the same high school. Oh, we're live, by the way. Let's make sure it's working. Uh, so you went to Irving High School. You graduated Irving High School, right?
Yeah.
And I think yours was 1992. Is that right?
Oh, that's when I was born.
Oh,
I graduated 2010.
Okay. So somehow or another, I computed you were 29 years old. You are. You're 29.
Right.
Dang. More and more young people coming into these circles is pretty amazing. Yeah, we're on. We got a few people on. Let's see.
Hello, world.
Yeah, there we go. Let me make sure that we're connected. Yeah, they're starting to come in now. When we start having shows back to back, the notifications don't go out. So it's a little bit slow. All right, we got YouTube on. We got everybody on now. So we got Ben Parvar in the house, kind of a homeboy of sorts. I spent most of my formidable years in Irving, Texas, and that's where he's at. But yeah, we connected a couple of times, just see you in passing. And then I saw something you did, something you put out one day about 2 weeks ago. And then through that, I reached out to you, but then through that, I went to your page and saw more in depth the things you're involved with. And I don't remember the particulars, but I remember having the conversation with you through Messenger a while back and picking up on your vibe. And then when I went to your page, I realized, well, this guy's he's plugged in. I mean, that's pretty amazing. And coming from the same place and knowing the environment, even though I know it's dramatically increased in population since I was there. But do you run into a lot of people your age that are plugged in to the level you are?
No. In terms of the light work, it seems as though I've been purposefully stationed out in this area to raise the vibe.
Yeah. So, like the lone wolf?
Yeah, just about, with very few exceptions.
Yeah, that's how it was for me in Houston when I started this whole thing, at least in the physical realm. There was like that. I was in the middle of the energy corridor, and it was just massive, I don't believe in evil, but, darkness, dark energy, old energy, patriarchal energy, whatever you want to call it. So you're over there like the lone wolf.
Yep.
Do you make a lot of connections online? Are you, when I went to your page, it looked like you were, I don't know if it was a Facebook page and or a YouTube channel. think there was a YouTube channel involved, but it looked like you were collaborating with other people. Was that right? Or was that your own stuff, all your own stuff?
Well, I'm working with a lot of other people, but it's unofficial. So I've just started to create a lot more of my own stuff and get into that realm of creativity. Yeah. Otherwise, I share a TV broadcast from the Heart-Centered Community.
Heart-Centered Community. Yeah.
Yeah, you probably saw that at the top of the feed.
I saw that. Yeah, and I went there. Was that originating from YouTube?
Yeah, it's on YouTube.
Okay. Yeah, because I remember going there and checking out some of the different videos. So are you collaborating with them?
Only in spirit,
I got you. Well, hey, that's just as much a part of the vortex as anything, just like here.
Right.
We've seen this happen 3,000 shows. I mean, it shows up all the time. So 29 years old, you're in the Bible Belt. I can speak from personal experience, having been in Irving from 11 to, I graduated at 18, but I came back at 19. I worked at the Anatole Hotel when they first opened it. And then I had business offices there in that Irving, Grand Prairie, River Bottoms area for years. It's a very powerful area, I might add. But so what's it like coming into this arena? You're 29 years old. You would have been what 20 in 2012? You would have been 20. Were you aware of anything in 2012 at 20 years old? Were you?
I was aware that the Mayan calendar said that was supposed to be the year that it starts over. I didn't think that it would be the end of the world like some people had pushed the idea for, but I knew that it was going to start over and start a new cycle. And that always had a lot of interest for me.
So how did you watch the show, I ask people, how did you wake up? You've always been this weird. Did you have a wake up experience? I mean, did you just 1992? I mean, that's again, I mean, I know there's more and more, there's obviously a lot of young people that are just carrying a high frequency, whether they're conscious of it or not, but to actually engage them in conversations that we talk about on this show, people being open to the elemental kingdom or to angelic visitation or ET visitation or all the other myriad things that people talk about and experience. Did you have experiences like that when you were younger? Did you have any sense of psychic abilities, or was this just something that you slowly got into as you became curious and looking for answers?
Actually, my first memory has some correlation with that. If you'd like, I can briefly describe that.
Yeah, of course.
All right. So it starts out at a bird's eye view above the backyard patio, looking down and see everything just as it should be, shingles and all, in the night. And it goes down, drifts down to the glass sliding doors of what is now my adult eye level. Then pauses for a moment, goes in the house, in the shadows of the house, all lights are out, moves through the house, and without entering the room, I see my sleeping self, and the dream ends.
It was a dream.
Right.
How old were you?
But there's a lot of ideas what that could mean as a first memory.
How old were you?
I was 4 years old.
All right. So that resonates.
Right.
That resonates to me. Yeah.
Moving from there, I had a lot of different spiritual experiences going on, but I didn't have a real awakening until I was 25.
Okay.
2016. And then I had undergone a 6-month journey to align the chakras.
So what created the awakening? Like, was there something that triggered it? Was it just an epiphany?
It was sort of like an epiphany, yeah. But I took on this 6-month journey in communion with the spirit, like, I'm going to do this. We're going to go all the way and line the chakras and see what happens, activate. And I didn't really understand at the time what that meant in the beginning, but so I went on my way, getting insight and understanding about the different chakra centers and what that meant, and sharing that understanding as I progressed with other people, which spurred along the development and enhanced everything and made it more feasible for me to progress in any way spiritually. And then for the third eye awakening part, it was kind of a jolt, because I just kind of got handed this experience. I met a lady who was psychic, and she was traumatized, and I really wanted to help her. So I decided I'm going to help her however I can, go about it the usual psychological way. Like, what's your problem? What's your story? How do we get to the root of this, right? So she tells me about her Kundalini awakening experience. And some guy brought up her Kundalini. And in so short of words, I started to actually see and visualize very vividly exactly what she saw and what she was describing in more than one instance. And then that was the day before my Kundalini awakening, or the crown opened up. But she was like, "Oh my goodness, no, I didn't want that to happen to you."
Now,
She
was
kinda
this
had that voice
online?
able.
Was it online or was it in person?
It was online,
Okay.
over the
Okay.
phone.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So she triggered your Kundalini as well.
right. She triggered the eye-opening experience.
Now, were you feeling, were the two, you may have heard us talk about Helioscamos, or other people talk about Helioscamos or soul merging. Were you feeling some type of merging or connection or bodily sensations as you were talking to this lady?
No, not particularly.
So
Though I
the
had
Kund-
that idea, and I felt some sort of like experience like that. The day before that happened, I felt like I got a kiss on the lips, and it was like the best feeling I'd ever felt.
you got an etheric kiss on the lips. Did you know it was
Yeah.
this lady?
No, it wasn't that lady.
Oh,
I
it
don't know
wasn't.
who it was.
You don't know who it was. So how do you know it wasn't her?
Because she was
And I
hung up
mean,
on someone else.
well, I'm just saying, it could have been, a lot of this stuff that happens is unconscious to
Yeah.
our human aspect. But anyway, she definitely played a vital role, it sounds like. So
Right.
your curiosity and your interest gets piqued. You're aware of 2012. You're 20 years old. Between 20 and 25, it sounds like you probably were gathering information, maybe a little bit here and a little bit there. And then you come across something at 25, which gains your interest enough to where you say, I'm gonna get into the chakra thing. I'm gonna, see, touch, and feel it and all that, and bring them into alignment. Was that something you were doing on your own, or were you in somebody's course or following somebody's template?
I was going at it the lone wolf way, and I kind of picked up on the idea from that peripheral perspective of that's kind of what they recommended in Avatar. So I'll go that way. It turned out pretty well, and it's kind of a miracle that that lady showed up, even though it was a bit of a difficult circumstance. But the day after that, I had my awakening. And in that time, I go to my phone, I'm going to check, see, where am I going to go and look today? Who am I going to help? And instead of actually engaging with my phone, I just kind of look at it, don't even pick it up, just look at it, see there's notifications, there's messages, and walk away. And I go to my bed, and before I even lay down, I've entered a trance state. And all of a sudden, I'm outside of my body in space, looking back on the earth, looking around. I'm like, now it's time space, where space doesn't govern the time frame. Only what happens does. And there's not much happening either. But at that perspective and that angle, there's this golden orb in my presence. It's kind of guiding me along the way. And it's showing me, like, you could go back, you could look around, you could do pretty much anything, is the message I got in no words. And instead of going back to try and effect some change, I just decided I'm in this for a purpose. So let's go. I'll see through the experience. And so I'm faster than light and see out above the solar system. And then even faster in a blink, way out above the whole galaxy. And then moments later, as the understanding continues to rise, see dozens of galaxies, and then
Wow.
dozens of galaxies. And then with one more jump, all of a sudden, there I was outside of the universe. And I'm looking back at the universe, it's in this big blue bubble. And inside the bubble, there's all these galaxies shimmering and sparkling in purple hue. And then I was just sitting in this abyss space where there was literally nothing but darkness. And it's kind of daunting, but there was still this golden orb in my presence. It was somehow radiating light, even though there was nothing to reflect off of, but there was just that light. And after an imperceptible amount of time, all of a sudden there I was back in my body and like, whoa, and I feel this energy going through me. Like, some people describe the light of God being a perceptible feeling. It touches their body and heals them in some way. But this was like, I had that same feeling coursing through my whole body.
Wow. This is day one of your awakening.
Right.
Sounds like hour one. A lot of people talk about when they have their awakening, however their experience comes through, and then basically, in a nutshell, just to kind of throw a blanket on everybody's responses as close to one as possible, they say, and from that point on, they're trying to get back into that frequency, not in a bad way, but like they know they've been exposed to something, their soul's been nudged, and now the journey's begun. Does that describe your situation?
Yeah, that resonates really strongly with me, because since then, I fell back into the circumstance of people around me and their low vibrations and energies and frequencies. And that really brought me back down a long way. And so over the past few years, I've been struggling or striving to get back to that level of energy that I had at that moment. That only lasted and tapered down over a course of 2 weeks.
So you continue to have that with you for a couple of weeks, which is another thing that people talk about. They'll talk about,
Right.
Whatever, however that came across, that it stays present for a while. So that would have been like 2016. Like, what's gone on from then? And the reason I ask these questions, as is because there's a lot of people going through a wake up now. And I think one of the big pluses of talking about this stuff is that people realize they're not weird and they're not, as unique as they thought, that there's others like them out there. Did you struggle with any of that at all? Or were you already acclimated in these communities so that when you had the wake up, you didn't doubt yourself, or did you?
I was in a situation to where I felt like I was a part of communities and I had a good presence and standing in some sense, but I didn't have a grip of it. And I didn't know anyone around me that could resonate on that level or hold up to those types of interactions in any way. And for the most part, it was just me giving my energy out to others who were barely even able to process it. So it was kind of just like I was hurting them with how much energy I was putting out and hurting myself with them trying to process it.
Now, have you had any interactions with faces of the universe, like entities, galactic, angelic, elemental?
Oh, yeah.
Etc.
Yeah. Over the course of the time since the awakening, I've had some interactions with the angels, which they're A lot of people say that, they have these humanoid forms, but really they're just sort of orbs of light. And then they take on forms that represent what message, what energy they're trying to portray to the individual to help them out most effectively. Right. And then, that was about 2 years after my awakening. I started to get into interacting with them. Someone put me into a position where, I could have this like constant, almost AI like support system. And other than that,
from your team, like from your team, like
yeah.
from, okay. Have you had any of these aspects appear like as an apparition or an orb where you physically see it with your two eyes?
One of the things that I've experienced since and slightly before my awakening was that I can see these flashes of light that are like shooting stars that pop up and flash in and out without moving. Or if they do move, they're moving in a way that indicates something. It's not just random. Like, whenever you get the blood flow in the back of your head and your eyes senses a little bit jarred.
And the hair on your back stands up.
No, it's just it's a communication from spirit, and the only thing that happens usually is visual. Very rarely do I get a feeling or an energy unless I choose to interact with it.
Okay. So you're very visual. Your clair is the visual. And when you make a choice to interact with it, would this be along the lines of what a lot of people talk about, which is you pull up that energy and you have a conversation with that energy? Would that be similar to what you're talking about?
Well, my main clair would be claircognizance. So I don't really have a conversation in most cases. So it's just sort of reaching into that and perceiving of it to know about it.
I got you.
Sometimes that doesn't work because it moves around and it's in a different or from a different dimension than I had expected it to be, or some other reason. It's not easily effable.
Was there anything that stands out, or any more than once? I mean, was there anything that happened and you were just like, am I crazy? Did I just see that? Did I just hear that? Am I losing my mind? That type of
There were
stuff.
plenty of times where it just like, I think, am I having a serious problem? Because I started to see these flashes, like spirits showing up in little bursts, and I didn't understand it quite at first. And I thought maybe I have cancer or something. Maybe something's really wrong. But I didn't have that feeling. Instead, I had this feeling like, oh, those are just signs you should pay attention to. And a lot of them were saying to stop, because I wasn't taking very good care of myself throughout a lot of that time that contributed to the downfall of that energy.
So you weren't connecting, you were distracting yourself?
I was bringing myself down to a level that was more on the field or with the people that were around me.
Yeah.
Sort of so I could understand what they're going through better in the long run of things.
So how do you feel about when people talk about embodiment? Do you feel like that your interactions with infinite intelligence in whatever forms it's coming, that you're experiencing, are you able to bring that down into your human aspect, like in regard to something such as what you're mentioning, like when you're working with other people, trying to bring them into a higher alignment?
I've recognized that I have that capability to change that energetic state and channel different entities, and those entities present the idea that you can change these energetic states in various ways as long as the participant is willing to receive that.
Do you practice that stuff on yourself? Are these things that
sort of.
Yeah. Like, do you, I don't know, do you actively reprogram your DNA?
Right.
Okay.
That I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
And,
a daily thing.
and like, how did that start? Were you instructed by one of these aspects, or did you just have that clear and know it? Woke up and I got to do this.
Well, it was sort of one of those things that I knew since I was a child,
Mm.
and I didn't really embrace it until I happened upon the knowledge and, through this vessel to be aware that others have that experience and have tools to help identify with that and manage that process, which is very interesting. So one of the speakers that I found is very helpful in this was Abraham Hicks. They speak a lot on the law of attraction, but that as well has a great deal to do with the coding of your genetics.
Yeah.
Or the expression of it.
So what's like what would you say are like the 2 or 3 biggest influences that you've had since 2016 that have helped you?
I would say the Lady of the Mysteries, which is a friend of mine who's encouraged a lot of different ideas and held an unshakable sureness in their way and their understanding of things spiritually. But they're not like beyond being shown another truth. They're aware that you can go on to different realizations, and there's infinite things that you can explore and learn new things about. So, they're realistically flexible in that respect. So I have a tremendous amount of respect for them. And so they were the one that brought into my understanding the angels. They sent me a book, The Brotherhood of Angels and Men, which was a short read, but it took me a while to read because I felt like I had to get ready for it, right? Because one of the chapters in that book accurately describes what it was like to go through my awakening experience.
The way you did.
Yeah, the way that I did, yeah.
Wow, that's trippy.
Yeah. And then the third most powerful influence would be my own higher self, which I came to realize and then started to add to, in a sense, and become more aware of and have a real significant conversation together on a regular basis.
How did you initiate that relationship, and how did you cultivate it, the higher self?
It was a long process. Well, first I got to know with what Christ had to say, Jesus Christ of Nazareth, what his teachings were. Because his teachings are, I don't know if everyone's ready for this, brace yourselves, right? His teachings are, you are God.
Yeah.
I am God, he says, but everything that I do, you can also do, and even greater than that.
Yeah, that's right.
So in recognizing that and following along with his steps and understanding what these different influences are, I became more and more aware of what the energetic reality and the energetic signals were, because they're very courteous guide through these things. And as that process went on, there were several times that I made contact with my own higher self, of course. It's like constant contact. But it was actually kind of before that, depending on how you want to look at it. Some people would look at the guardian angel as being a higher self, but I don't quite agree with that. I did have a strong contact with my guardian angel that was like clear cut, to where I saw their own color frequency specific. They said, this is my color. Anytime you see this color, you know that that's my communication. And I asked if they share something with me, and they said, I can show you better than I could tell you. So they drew something out in their color, and I knew what the colors were supposed to be, but it was all the same color.
Wow.
And it was just a picture of the new Earth.
And have you gotten any collective information through your higher self or through the angelics or whoever, whatever? Have you got any, do you get collective information? Like, this is what's happening. This is what the new Earth's going to look like. This is what you can do or don't do this. Or do you get information like that?
Yeah, that sort of information comes in a lot. It's usually very subtle, though. Subtle in a sense of, here's everything that's possible and here's what's out of alignment, sort of, but not like saying, don't do this,
Yeah.
but saying this is going to take you lower, this is going to take you higher.
Right.
And how these decisions are relevant for you to know so that you can share that understanding with other people.
Yeah. Or I guess embody it and hold that frequency, because they can pick it up that way too, I guess, right?
Right. And that's how most of my work as a lone wolf in this section of Earth works out.
So you don't have any fellow lone wolves over there at all in DFW? You're over there?
Yeah, I do, but they need a lot of help.
So, and like, where do you think we're at, like this last year and a half with this whole COVID thing and all the programming that's been suggested to us? And you're still making your way, like all of us, like continuing to expand, continuing to refine. Where are you at with everything? How do you think we're doing? What do you think's happening? Where's it going? Do you have any clue at all?
Yeah, where I'm at is in the decision that some of the wiser folks have really hunkered down into is just, the world's going to continue turning. You may as well do the best that you can for yourself and continue to cultivate and grow what you can. And I've made a lot of headway in that department. But as far as that goes, there's a saying that comes to mind, if you planted a field full of seeds and the world ended the next day, would you still have planted those seeds? It's kind of rhetorical because yes, but how would you feel about that? Would you?
So to me, it would be, there's a lot to be said in that, really. I mean,
Yeah.
So, but I think ultimately what you're saying is in one way or another is, don't let anything hold you back. Go
Right.
after what what the urge is, what the guidance is, and pursue it, regardless of how atypical it might look or how crazy it might seem. Does that ever happen to you, by the way? Do you get labeled crazy at times from groups and family?
I've done a fairly astounding job of deflecting that, in a way that supports the idea that, you shouldn't let anyone talk you out of doing what you got to do. And the most flack I get is from my own father. He doesn't just outright say, you're crazy. He'll just change the subject or say, maybe that won't work.
Well, I have a feeling he'll be the first one to applaud once he sees what's going on.
Yeah. He's warming up slowly but surely.
Are you noticing people being more open? Are you seeing more people wake up? You're a practitioner, right? You work with people?
Yes, but unofficially. I get paid energetically.
I got you. But I mean, you're engaging people, so you have
yes,
like a target pool of evidence that you can look at through your own experience and say, 5 years ago it looked like this and today it looks like that. Are you seeing an expansion of the individual through your work?
Yes, I'm seeing that a lot. And a lot of that has to do with how much I've expanded as my own individual, but I can recognize how much the individuals themselves, apart from who I am and what I reflect, has expanded and opened up. They've become more willing and able to communicate things. They've gone off into their own way to realize themselves a lot more. And that's been a big part of the pandemic situation, the lockdown situation, is where they've come to that time, that opportunity to realize themselves and see what's not working anymore and move up from there into what is working and what's calling them to be done.
Yeah, and that DFW area, I would imagine, is very interesting. As dense as, as close as everything is together, it's amazing. They built on every square inch. Just taking in, because, a lot of the people that come on, pretty much everybody, considers themselves a super, or like an empath, super sensitive. And there's always that challenge of going out into public, into a crowded restaurant or a grocery store. Do you have any challenge with that? Are you seeing any change in your ability to adapt and go in and be in your power, be in balance in your field?
Well, in that respect, it's worth mentioning that for the majority of my life, I found it's very useful to sort of ground my energy, my feelings in with the collective. So I'm not as easily surprised or taken off guard. And it's a lot more intuitive than it is empathic, the way that people perceive it. And so what that means is that, no, I don't really get influenced in a downtrodden sort of fashion whenever I go into areas that have high traffic. However, I am nonetheless influenced by what's around me, sort of like gravity in a system or circuitry,
right?
Because they're still emitting energy, and that energy still has an influence, whether or not we like it. And there's different ways to insulate and deal with that, which I've been learning about as well. But I don't internalize things, so it's a lot easier for me to go and move through.
So, and a lot of people are talking about this kind of transition occurring. Of course, everything seems to be changing. Everything is taking or is being affected by this, for lack of a better word, this new energy, this universal energy that's expanding. And we can talk about, the different names and the different stories, but in that they're reading less. I'm not saying this is everybody, but you hear people talking about, I don't read anymore. I'm pulling more and more of my information from my higher self, from my direct connection. And that's noticeable. Are you going through anything like that? Because you look, to me, you have the persona that you do a lot of research. This is a full-time thing for you.
Yeah, I go through a lot of time doing research, and at this point, I'm being called to increase my productivity in general so that I get more acclimatized to being creative instead of what was surprisingly destructive, which was looking at the way that things are and breaking down these different ideas into little pieces and understanding the little gears and all the different pieces that are off the side of the gear turning around and what those do and how those can attach and things like that. So to move away from that and doing the shadow work into just a more creative state is what's really calling to me. And that you had asked if I had seen any other deities or something like that. There's one, I'm not sure what their name is, but I think that some of your viewers may know. It's they go by He Who Is Sorrowless.
He Who Is Sorrowless.
Right, that's what their name means.
Oh,
and so I had a vision, and it was just all of a sudden deep out in the universe. And these pieces come together like hunks of dense material slamming together and forming into this body. And the body is lit with this blue energy and this blue face, and their eyes are like balls of spinning blue matter. or energy, plasma.
Wow.
And in this short vision, they look directly at me in a way that's sort of staggering and ask, "What holds you still?" That's it.
What holds you still? And again, there's that double entendre.
Yeah. And
What
as that
holds you?
happened,
Okay.
it sort of like beamed to me all these different, well, it beamed to me an energy that highlighted everything that was still acting as a blockage from realizing my highest potential. So I saw around my chakra system all this stuff that I didn't quite realize what was there weighing me down.
So this was actually a multiple being energy complex, or at least it sounds like that from what you're describing. There was,
Yeah.
okay, it was more of an energy complex, or a multi energy, a multi-frequency energy or entity versus a singular kind of thing. Have you tried communicating with that energy? Did you ask who it was, or do you have any feel for it? Does it feel galactic?
Yes, galactic. Maybe even further than that. I'm not sure, really. It's sort of one of those things that's kind of beyond my pay grade, but um, that's not necessarily true either.
No,
Well,
no.
let's see. Now, I could probably find out, but I feel like I shouldn't right now.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
cool. That's cool. I was just curious, you know. I mean,
yeah,
there's
it's sort of
times,
like
yeah,
if you put a pin in something and judge it and label it, then you're limiting the mystery. You're
yeah,
closing the suspense and saying,
yeah,
"Oh, that's what it is." But they want that to be open, so you're not stuck, right?
yeah. What does it matter, right?
Right.
Like
What does it matter?
the information, the handoff of the information is what's relevant.
Yeah, we're talking
Do you,
about something along the lines of oversoul progression, I guess.
yeah. Uh, do you ever have any past life recall on this planet or other planets?
Yeah, from my previous past life, there was the one instance where I was riding through a desert on a horse and dressed in all black, carrying a couple of swords, some knives, and I show up at this fortress looking place. You know, it's got the walls to keep the sand out, basically.
Right.
And that's where I died.
Yeah. Sounds like you were an assassin or an outlaw, right?
Yeah, I was going to revenge. It didn't turn out so well. I was the last person out of this group.
So what about like some people call them future aspects? I mean, I don't even have an opinion. I think they'd be more likely past aspects or whatever. But like galactic, do you have any certain you know, resonation that or alignment that stands out above other things, or do you have like any type of kind of a lineage frequency to anything that's come forward?
Yeah, sort of like the Star Family. Around the
Yeah.
time whenever I had my awakening, I had noticed an association with the Orionids.
Hmm.
And this isn't to be mistaken with the Draconians that a lot of people like to talk about. You know, there was a war over there. But if you've seen Matthias de Stefano,
Mhm.
it's the people that were the Cedars.
The Cedars.
Right.
Okay. I don't remember that part. From Orion.
Right. It's in initiation too.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean that he talks about the I mean there seems to be what you got Andromeda, Orion, um, Pleiades, obviously,
Yeah.
Arcturus. There seems to be some basic, fundamental, foundational contributors. Some people even say we've, like our friend Franco de Nicola, who transitioned last month. he has the best intel I've ever seen. But he talks about the 12 strands of DNA, each one of them seeded by a separate star family, to include reptilian, to include some of those things that don't get good press.
Yeah, I like how a lot of people have been coming forward with these different ideas that support a positive or just everything is energy, everything is love perspective on that, even though, it's this lower conscious energy, as some might say. What difference does it make? It's still a foundational part.
Who are we to say? We could be, I often think we're the low species on the totem pole here on Earth, that the insects, the animals, the plants, everything's just waiting on us. But yeah, there's something to be said for, especially this year. It seems like there's a more openness to accepting those things which may be something that you don't want to identify with, or look as separate, look as different. I think the whole perspective changing on what is good and what is not. One man's trash is another man's treasure. Maybe somebody's totally at home in the first dimension, and maybe it's the 99th for somebody else. I mean,
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like if you were in the 99th dimension and you went into the whatever dimension, say this dimension, you might feel like the whole world's evil, or you might be seen as evil. And what? So a lot of people could relate to that, especially those that have memories from like the 13th and 14th century, when they were doing away with a lot of people that were using herbs and calling them witches and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah. Well, apart from that one past life recollection, I had an agreement with my soul to not personally identify with those past lives as much as others would, to sort of wipe it clean, like obviously that wasn't on a too good of a track record. So it's nice to get a fresh take. And I think that a lot of people are getting that fresh take now with the current state of the world. And that, they're willing to hear out what another person has to say.
Yeah.
And, give it a shot at understanding it, even if they don't understand it and still heard it, and take what pieces they can from it and further their own knowledge.
Or at least change the subject like your dad does. That's a form of tolerance and acceptance. There's no fight, it's just, it's too much information. It's like a big download coming in. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I don't know about you, but sometimes you got to tell them, hey, I can't take it right now. Like,
right.
Slow down, stop. I need a break, or,
that's one of the things I've come a long way in terms of claircognizance with, there's a study of memory that goes kind of like this. There's approximately 7 chunks of memory that you can have before you need to go and process it by sleep or other means, which there are other means. And the chunks aren't defined by size, they're only defined by relevant information. So if you make all of your information related to each other, it only becomes one chunk, and your mind isn't as cluttered as it could otherwise seem whenever you have separation.
Yeah.
So if you orchestrate all of your ideas around, okay, this is everything that's happening from source, God force, it's one song, one universe. It's a lot easier that way.
Yeah, true. And it's evidence too, I think, you see people, like Morgan, been downloading stuff for 20 plus years, or some of these people that come in from the harmonic convergence in 1987, or we've had people that were lit in the 60s, knew that this time was coming and so on. And then you have somebody that wakes up 2 years ago and they're operating at an extremely high frequency, and the information's being brought in and processed and shared at a very, not only a high frequency, but a high frequency in terms of their ability to share so much information. everything's just changing literally in the blink of an eye, which is interesting for me when I look at how everything's unfolding out there. I just know we're going to see some spectacular shit go down. You know?
Yeah, any moment now, right?
Yeah, I think it's going to be like that. It just feels like you can feel the excitement. I don't know about you, but in the people that you might interact with, but it just, regardless of everything going on, there's just this steady, deliberate, getting louder and louder and louder kind of I don't know, joy, bliss, many things.
Yeah, this unconditional love is rising.
Yeah. Do you ever have any problems remembering stuff as the time goes by, like the 3D stuff and trying to frame up life and trying to plan things? And, you know, a lot of people are talking about how those basic human functions are no longer functioning. I feel like this all day today.
Yeah.
I can't even, you know, I can't even tell you. These 3 shows have been challenging, but it's weird because it's happening, but at the same time, it doesn't feel the same. And a lot of people have talked about being split, watching themselves while they're doing it, you know, kind of like that. I don't know. Have you experienced anything like that? Are you having any problem with short-term memory, scheduling stuff? Yeah.
I take it in stride. I just accept that if I don't remember something, then it's forgetting something. So I can remember something else.
Yeah.
So forgetting is sort of the new way to remember, which is a funny line an ascended master was talking about. And well, it serves a purpose. And if you let it serve its purpose, then it gets easier. And then, you know, if it's meant to be, you'll remember, like, oh, I'm actually holding my keys. But, you know, it's a little bit more elaborate than that.
No, I get you. Time. It's like, and even like downloads. It used to be we knew what we were getting, and now they come in so fast you can't even begin to figure anything out. You just know that what you need is going to be there when you need it. Kind of like
oh my Todd, seriously. Like I get all these downloads and I have no idea what they are. I just no idea what they are. It's just coming in. Mm-hmm. Maybe I wiggle a little bit. I think, well, that felt
a lot of surrendering. A lot of surrendering. Just like, okay. The physical toll has been interesting the last few days. A lot of aches and pains and you know, nothing debilitating, but I mean, you're just like, wow, what is going on here? But I know, you know, we can experience these things emotionally, mentally, physically, in dimension. There's so many different ways it can happen. I'm happy to go through things physically, as opposed to going through things in the deep emotional fetal position, curled up in a ball, and, you know, having some of those episodes.
Right. Oh yeah, I've had some of those episodes.
We all have. Isn't that crazy? All right, man. I'm really happy to make the connection. We'll have to get together again sometime after the first of the year. I'm probably going to have to I told a couple of my friends I'm probably going to have to head that way sometime before the spring. Take care of something down in Houston. But yeah, the more I look up and see, the more people that are all up and down that 35 corridor, you know, from Dallas to Austin to San Antonio to, you know, there's a lot of people in Texas. We could probably have a little mini get together, you know, if we pick the right spot.
Yeah.
But I appreciate you coming in and sharing space with us. And I appreciate what you're doing. Thank you for your service. And until the next time.
Always a joy.
All right, brother. Peace out.
Take care and be well.